The Injustice and Decay of Humanity. The Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 52. The oppression and exploitation of the weak by the powerful. Thus saith the Lord. If men would understand that the earth has been created for all, and would learn to share in a just way with their brethren all the material and spiritual treasures with which their existence is sowed, truly I say that here on earth you would begin to feel the peace of the spiritual kingdom. Do you not believe that the division of humanity into peoples and races is rather primitive? Do you think that if your progress in your civilization, of which you are so proud, were real, the law of force and wickedness would not still be prevalent, but instead all the deeds of your existence would be guided by the light of your conscience? And you, my people, do not put yourselves above this judgment, for also among you I discover conflicts and differences. Keep in mind the example of Israel, which history speaks of, when they had to wander in the desert for so long. They struggled to flee the captivity and idolatry of Egypt, but also to reach a land of peace and freedom. Today, all humanity is like that people made captive by the Pharaoh. Beliefs, doctrines, and laws are imposed on men. The majority of the nations are slaves of other stronger ones. The hard struggle and forced work under the whips of hunger and humiliation are the bitter bread now eaten by a great portion of humanity. Because of all this, a desire for liberation, for peace, and for a better life is growing in the hearts of men. This world, which should be the home of a single family that includes all mankind, is the precinct of discord and the cause of absurd ambitions, treason, and war. This life, which should be made use of for study, for meditation, and for an effort to reach eternal life through the use of its trials, its lessons, and the benefits it gives to the spirit, is misunderstood by humanity, allowing its heart to be poisoned by rebellion, bitterness, materialism, and dissent. Poor peoples of earth, some enslaved, others humiliated, and the rest robbed by their own leaders and representatives. Your hearts already do not love those who rule you on earth, for your trust has been betrayed. You no longer have confidence in the justice or magnanimity of your judges, and no longer believe in their promises, their words, nor their smiles. You have seen that hypocrisy has taken over their hearts and established on earth its reign of lies, falsehoods, and trickery. Poor peoples, who bear the labor upon their shoulders like an unsupportable burden. That work is no longer that which was blessed by law, and by which man obtained that which was necessary for his subsistence, but has become a desperate and anguished struggle for life. And what do men obtain in exchange for giving their labor and their lives? A crust of bread and a cup of bitterness. Truly, I tell you, this is not the sustenance which I deposited on the earth for your enjoyment and protection. This is the bread of discord, of vanities, of inhuman sentiments. Finally, it is the proof of the little or no spiritual elevation of those who lead you in human life. I see you strike the bread from each other's hands, that the ambitious cannot bear to see that others possess anything, for they wish it all for themselves. I see the strong take the bread of the weak, and these settle for watching the strong eat and enjoy. I ask then, where is the moral advancement of this humanity? Where is the development of their most noble sentiments? Truly, in the age when men lived in caves and covered themselves with the skins of beasts, then also they struck the morsels of food from the mouths of their fellows. Then too the strong took the greater portion. Then too were the efforts of the weak taken for the use of those who ruled by force. And then too men killed men, tribes killed tribes, and people killed peoples. Where is the difference between the humanity of now and that of those days? Yes, I know you will tell me there have been many advances. I know you will speak of your civilization and your science. I tell you, all of these are the mask of hypocrisy, behind which you hide the truth of your sentiments and impulses, which are still primitive because you have not bothered even a little to develop your spirits in compliance with my law. I do not tell you not to explore science. On the contrary, explore, analyze, grow and multiply in knowledge and intelligence within material life, but have charity toward one another. Respect the sacred rights of your fellow men. Understand that there is no law that authorizes any man to dispose of the life of his brother. In summary, humanity, do something to apply my highest commandment, love one another, to your lives, so that you may finally be freed from that moral and spiritual morass into which you have sunk. When that veil of lies that has covered your faces falls, your light will pour out, sincerity will shine from you, and the truth shall be established in your lives. That is when you will be able to say, you have progressed. Strengthen yourselves in the practice of my teachings, so that in the future your words may be always supported by deeds of true charity, wisdom, and brotherhood. I send you my peace, but truly I tell you, while there exist men who have all they need, but who forget about those who are dying of hunger, there shall be no peace on earth. Peace does not lie in human greatness, nor in riches. It is in goodwill, in loving one another, in serving and respecting others. Oh, if only the world understood these lessons, hatred would disappear and love would surge in the human heart. The depravity of humanity. Mankind is stranded in the midst of a storm of sins and vices. It is not only when they become adults that men contaminate their spirits by allowing the unfolding of their passions. In their tender childhood, they already see their vessel in danger of sinking. My word, full of revelations, arises in the midst of this humanity, like an immense beacon which shows the stranded victims the true route and encourages hope in those who were losing their faith. Humanity has multiplied along with their sins. There is no lack of cities in the world that are poisoning hearts, as did Sodom and Gomorrah, whose scandalousness echoed throughout the world, in spite of the fact that the inhabitants of those cities were not hypocrites, for they sinned in the light of day, not a trace of remains of those sinful cities. Today's humanity, which hides in the shadows to give rein to their passions, and afterward simulate rectitude and cleanliness, shall have a judgment more severe than that of Sodom. It is the disastrous inheritance of all past generations that with its ambitions, vices, and sickness is bearing fruit in this time. It is the tree of evil that has grown in the hearts of men, a tree fertilized by sin, and whose fruits continue to tempt both men and women, making new hearts fall every day. In the shade of that tree are men and women, prostrate without the strength to free themselves of its influence. There are to be found the broken virtues, the stained honors, and many, many stunted lives. It is not only the adults who run after the pleasures of the world and the flesh. The poison accumulated throughout time has reached adolescents as well, and even children. And what do those who have escaped the baneful influence of evil do? What do they do for those who are lost? They judge them, criticize them, and are scandalized by them. Few there are who pray for those who have lost their way, and fewer yet who consecrate a part of their lives to fighting evil. Truly, I tell you, my kingdom shall not be established among men while the tree of evil yet lives. It is necessary to destroy that power, and for that it is necessary to have the only weapon that sin cannot resist, the sword of love and justice. Understand that it shall not be the judgments or the punishments, but rather the love, the forgiveness, and the charity. The essence of my doctrine will be the light that illuminates your path, and the teaching that leads mankind towards salvation. Your materialism has made the Eden entrusted to man into an inferno. False is the life men lead. False their pleasures, their power, and their wealth. False, too, their wisdom and science. Both rich and poor are worried about money, whose possession is deceiving. You worry about pain and illnesses, and you tremble at the idea of death. Some fear to lose what they have, and others are anxious to have what they never possessed. Some have excess, while others lack. But all these struggles, passions, needs, and ambitions are only in relation to the material life. The hunger of the body, of the lower passions, needs and ambitions of human yearnings, as though humans really had no spirits. The world and the material have temporarily defeated the spirit, beginning by reducing it to slavery and ending by nullifying its mission in human life. How can you yourselves not realize that these hungers, that misery, and the pain and anguish which oppress your life are only the faithful reflection of the misery and pain of your spirit? The world needs my word. The peoples and nations need my lessons of love. The leader, the scientist, the judge, he who guides spirits, he who teaches all of them need the light of my truth. And that is exactly why I came in this era, to illuminate the spirits, the hearts, and the understanding of men. Your planet is not yet a dwelling of love, peace, or virtue. I send clean spirits to your world, and you return them to me impure, because the lives of men are saturated with sin and depravity. I behold the virtues like tiny lights isolated among the spirits, battered by the winds of selfishness, resentments, and hatred. These are the fruits offered to me by mankind. The misguided world of an immature humanity. You have governors in whose hearts there is found neither the justice nor the magnanimity necessary to govern their peoples, for they pursue the miserly ideal of power and riches. Men who call themselves my representatives, but who do not love their fellow men. Doctors who do not know the essence of their mission, which is charity, and judges who confuse justice with vengeance, and who use the law to perverse ends. All of those who deviate from their path, whose gaze wanders from the light of the lamp they bear in the beacon of their conscience, cannot imagine the judgment that they are preparing for themselves. There are also those who have taken on missions that are not theirs, and who by their errors give proof of an absolute lack of the gifts needed to fill the posts they have taken. And so you may find ministers of God who are not, for they were not sent for that mission. Men who lead peoples, but who are not capable of guiding even their own steps. Teachers who have no gift for teaching, who instead of giving light, create confusion. And doctors in whose hearts there beats no pity for the pains of others, not understanding that he who truly bears this calling is an apostle of Christ. Men have profaned all of my institutions, but a time has come when all of their works shall be judged. Making that judgment falls to me, for which reason I tell you to be vigilant and comply with my precepts of love and forgiveness. Behold this world, arrogant, defiant, and proud of the works of man that astonish the generations of this century. Their majority they neither believe nor love, the spiritual, and therefore neither pray nor practice my law. Nonetheless, they feel satisfied and proud to be able to show off this pretentious world of marvels they have created through the power of their science. This world of the marvels of men, built by centuries of science, struggle, war, and tears, will be destroyed by their own hands, and with their own weapons, because the time is already coming when humanity will realize the inconsistency and fragility of their works, which lacked love, justice, and a true yearning to become perfect. Soon you will know that you are nothing without God, that only from me can you take the strength, life, and intelligence to create a harmonious coexistence between the spirit and the human part of man. Men speak of the remote past, of antiquity, of the long centuries, and of interminable eras. Yet I always see you as small. I see that you have grown little spiritually. I consider your world to be still in its childhood, though you believe you have reached maturity. No humanity, as long as the spirit does not give evidence of maturity, elevation, of perfection, of advancement and progress in the different orders of your life, you shall not move beyond presenting me with merely human works, great only in appearance, but without moral substance or solidity, because they lack love. It is a decisive time for the spirits, a time of struggle. Truly, all is contest and struggle. That war takes place in the hearts of each man, in the bosoms of their homes, and at the root of all the institutions of all the peoples of every race. The battle does not take place only in the material plane, but also in the spiritual. It is the great battle contemplated symbolically by the prophets of other times, and seen in the way of mirages by the prophets and seers of this one. Yet that combat that moves and shakes all is not understood by humanity, though they are witness and party to the battle. The step of humans is hurried in these days, but where do they go? To what destination do they rush so? On this steep slope, can they achieve happiness? Will they find their yearn for peace, or the greatness each selfishly wishes for? I can tell you that what man will actually reach with his hurried steps is total fatigue. The spirits and hearts of men advance toward disgust and tiredness, but men themselves prepared that abyss. Into that abyss, into that total fatigue he shall fall, and in that chaos of hatreds and pleasures, of unsatisfied ambitions, of sin and adultery, of the profanation of both human and spiritual laws, he shall find an apparent death of the spirit, a passing death for the heart. But from that death I shall make men rise again to life. I shall make them have their resurrection, and make them struggle in that new life for the rebirth of all the ideals, for a renaissance of all the principles and all the virtues that are the characteristics and the patrimony of the spirit, which are their beginning, their alpha. For it was from me that the spirit sprang forth, from me that it took life, from my perfection it drank, and with my grace it was saturated.